Hello, my name is Dr. MoonJae Pak. I'm a medical doctor practicing in Rochester, Michigan. But at the same time, I'm from Korea and worried about the tensions existing between the United States and North Korea in the last several days. So I have been paying attention to the events that are occurring between these two countries in the last several days. I wanted to convey my perception to you American people because I've been to North Korea about 14 times in the past 15 years for a medical mission, and also the member of an organization called the Korean American National Coordinating Council, which promotes peaceful reunification of the Korean Peninsula. So I've been to North Korea many times. So I have a pretty clear perception of what the country is about and what they want in terms of their relationship with the United States. However, at the same time, the image of North Korea in the United States is very distorted because of the media, unfairness of the media and government's involvement in the demonizing North Korea, called the DPRK, Democratic People's Republic of Korea. So therefore, when I see this last extremely heightened tension between United States and North Korea, due mainly to their achievement of ICBM, intercontinental ballistic missile, and the capability for nuclear weapons, and their repeated testing of missiles and the nuclear weapons, and our President Trump's very provocative response by his statement saying that United States will counter it with a fury and fire, and then their response for that, saying that they will attack around the island of Guam, which is our military basis in Pacific Ocean. But I understand that tension has been relieved by now, so we don't really have to have concern about war between North Korea and United States. However, if we continue to have a mistaken concept or perception or image of North Korea among most of the U.S. citizenship, this kind of a crisis may happen again. So from my perspective, I'd like to take this opportunity to convey a more accurate picture of what North Korea is as a country, as well as people there and society. As you know, common concept of North Korea among American citizens is that it's an isolated country, reclusive hermit kingdom, controlled by a dictatorship. It's a communist regime, and there's no freedom, and that all kind of terrible human rights violation is happening in North Korea, that it is a small country that does not really deserve to be an independent country. This is a kind of perception that the American public has as a result of a number of U.S. governments propaganda against this country. For example, as you know, we had a war against North Korea, the Korean War, the Forgotten War, we call it, from 1950 to 1953. And at the end of the war, these two countries signed the disarmistice agreement, and then a third clause, third article in that disarmament treaty was that we will meet, two countries will meet in Switzerland, Geneva, Switzerland, and convert the relationship to a peaceful one, so that there will be a normalized diplomatic relationship between the two. But that promise was not kept by the United States. United States refused to sign discuss diplomatic establishment of diplomatic relationship, and they did not even continue to have the negotiated session in Switzerland with North Korea. So from then on, we have been maintaining very antagonistic approach against North Korea and treat them as an enemy. So we had a usual embargo on them and repeated sanctions on their country and isolated them, and so that the American public's image of North Korea became very inaccurate. In addition to that, we have our U.S. military bases in South Korea to counterbalance the North Korea. And according to our statistics, there are about 80 military bases in U.S. military bases in South Korea. And every year we've been conducting joint military maneuver right at the doorstep of North Korea. And next week, as a matter of fact, there will be again annual joint military maneuver between South Korea and the United States, right at the doorsteps of North Korea. It's called the Ulchi Freedom Guardian. And from the perspective of North Korean government and people, these activities, of course, to say the least, to a practice of invading their country, practice of this year and then last year, they even that joint maneuver even included practice called decapitation project, that is to assassinate North Korean leader, just like we did assassinate Osama bin Laden 2 years ago. So that is a very openly antagonistic approach. And then, so from their perspective, or North Korean perspective, they feel that they have to be maintain a very strong military posture, perhaps including nuclear weapons and ICBM. Otherwise, they have a clear perception that the United States will be invading their country. So from their perspective, nuclear weapon system and ICBM, which caused the current crisis, is their guarantee for their survival. In last two U.S. administrations, Bush and Obama, and then current one, and Donald Trump, we have isolated North Korea, and then multiple sanctions had also been adopted with U.S. promotion through United Nations. The most recent one was only about a month ago. Very severe sanction applied to North Korea for the reason of they are developing and testing ICBM. And according to this the most severe sanction, North Korea's total amount of annual export, about 1/3 will be sanctioned, so that their economy will have a great deal of limitation due to that, and that was also imposed on them. So repeated sanctions, embargoes, and military maneuvers made that country isolated, antagonistic, and nuclear, and ICBM capabilities. So This is something that American public should be aware, so that there will be a peaceful relationship developing between the two countries. As I said before, I've been to North Korea many times before, and I had a very useful and close contact with North Korean, not only the people in the street, but also government people. And their true intention in dealing with the United States is that they want to forget the past, the Korean War, and enmity between the two. They want to have a peaceful relationship between them so that they can concentrate on their economic development. And so they continue to express their desire for negotiation and dialogue with the United States and peaceful relationship, and become even a trading partner with it. And that we have not been accepting their proposal, and consequently they had to put so much resources, almost like 35% of their national GDP, into their defense budget, targeting against the United States. And from their point of view, their nuclear weapon system and ICBM is their guarantee for the survival from possible U.S. invasion or attack on them. So there is no intention for them to denucleate unless we have a clear and definite proposal to improve the relationship between the two countries. Therefore, I like to say now a few things about how the country of North Korea is from the perspective of a civilian visitor doing an American mission. Their country is a socialist country, a small country with only about 25 million people. And as I said before, however, 30% of their gross domestic product is used for defense. So when you go there, most of everybody is in part of a military force of North Korea. However, they have a strong, highly organized socialist system. So their people are guaranteed for their living. Their health care is provided by the country, by the government. And when they reach average age of 65, everybody is retired, and the government provides retirement housing and food supply and health care. So it is, however, the country is subscribing very strictly to their socialist political doctrine called 주체 사상, and they feel that they have a socialist system, and their country is like organic body. The head of the brain is the head of the body, and that's where their leader is, and the organization will have to be, entire country will have to be act as a organism. So that for that reason, they have almost absolute respect or support for the head of their country and society, who of course currently is Mr. Kim Jong-un, whose father was Kim Jong-il, and whose grandfather was Kim Il-sung. There's a family authoritarian system controlling the country, but the point that I like to make is the fact that the Kim Jong-un is head of the country, but if something happens to him, there will be a other person who will be heading the country, and that other person will also command the same kind of respect and support that Mr. Kim Jong-un does currently now. Now I want to say a few things about Mr. Kim Jong-un, because his perception of Mr. Kim is also very distorted in this country. He is not he's a dictator and also authoritarian leader, but he's not an immature manic type of person who are psychologically unstable. I had a chance to listen to his inauguration speech and annual speech he makes to his political party, which is called the Korean Labor Party. And when I listen to his speech, I see that he's a very, very strong, patriotic, socialist leader, but who is also very stable psychologically and mentally. So he is not a manic type who makes the momentary decisions based on his own personal perception of the situation. So he's well balanced. He's a young man, only 33 years old, and his secondary education was carried out in Switzerland, so he does speak English language as well. So in him, we do not have a demon. In him, we do not have a person who is a mentally unstable person. So what he says, we have to be careful in understanding and accept him as their leader. Because of his age, currently 33 years old, and therefore he will be a leader of North Korea for at least through at least 3 to 4 generations of American presidency. So he will be there 20 years, 30 years as a leader of the country. So we have to deal with them squarely, fairly, and with understanding that he has a certain position that he has to keep. And this is a very important concept on Mr. Kim that we should, people in the United States should maintain. Thank you.